Bitcoin's still down bad. In this video, we're going to talk about where we get really bearish. Also, we're checking in on ETH, XRP, Rune, Kaspa, and Optimism. Let's go. All right, let's do a quick check on some crypto charts. Bitcoin, Ethereum. We're going to do Ethereum versus Bitcoin, XRP, Rune, Kaspa, and Optimism. Okay, start with Bitcoin. So obviously we've got this big spike down. We've broken through our EMAs. You can see that this is the 10 and the 20 EMA. You want green over red, and it rides it all the way up. You start to falter a little bit, one last gasp, and now we punched back down through it. Also, particularly with Bitcoin, we are below the 200-day, we are below the 200-week, and we are also below the bull market support band. So if you particularly with, let's just look at the bull market support band, we'll take off the EMAs and let's look at the 200-day. And you can see that if you just traded the either the bull market support band or the 200-day, when we got above it, and even if you just traded the close of it, the close of the week, even the first close above the EMA, the 200-day or the bull market support band in a long time, because look, it was below it for a long time. So if you just waited for that first close and then you took a bet and you said, let me get on here, you had the potential, you'd have to call it the top as well, but you'd have the potential of making 53%. So now you have to think of the inverse. We are below, this is the first close. So if you were to short Bitcoin, would you potentially be in this range, 30? Even if we go down and we just double bottom, that's almost 40%. We could go lower. I'm not saying you should short Bitcoin, but I'm just saying if you are watching these two levels of the 200-day and the bull market support band, those are things you want to be above if you're going long, and things you want to be below if you're going short. So we'll see. Maybe it can bounce back above from here. If you want to look at some 50% levels, the long term, we've got hopefully to holding support around 23.7. If you look real tight at this range right here where we dropped down from, basically like 28,000, 27.8. You'd like to get above. We are far from that. And then if you want to look at one last range, we go from the top to, let's go from the top to the March low, and we can see we basically retested that. So, basically just like we went a little below it before, we go a little below now, and now we're holding a support. So while we're very far down on this recent range, again, if we shift it back to here, it looks like we're just barely hanging on to that. But if we look here, we could just be testing support. Like this could actually be a great buy, because if you want to bet that it's not going to break that, you limit your risk to about 1%. That doesn't mean there's a 1% chance of risk. That means that you'd only be risking 1%. So if you put like $10,000 in right now, you'd only risk $100, and you'd have potentially all this upside. And if it breaks this 50%, then it really puts everything down to like 19.5 back in play. So you probably want your other 99% of however much you were willing to risk to play with down here. But that's the problem. That's the whole thing. That's where amateurs like me don't know, are we going to break? Are we not going to break? But you can limit your risk right now because you're very close to an appropriate place to put a stop loss. And you can even extend it a little. You could extend it down to what the last week's low, and it'd still be only risking under 4%. So this is the challenges. You got to make all these own decisions yourself. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Let's look at ETH. ETH, we've got these two ranges from the top back down to the low of, it was down to 880 in June. So we can see this range here, and we basically retested it right here last week at about a little over 1,500, 1,550. And if you look a little bit shorter in terms of these ranges, again, let's look at just the dip from last week. We bounced right back up to it, we go all the way down, we test that other 50%, and then we bounce and we find resistance right here at around 1700, and kind of hovering around there, not able to get back over it. And if we extend the range back a little bit further to the top, to this recent low, we say to really be bullish, we got to be over 1845. I like to look at ETH versus BTC, because if you're in crypto and you're considering buying ETH, you have to really weigh it against Bitcoin. These are the two blue chips. If you're going to not be in it for the risk of the altcoins, and you want to be in it for some of the security, compare Bitcoin to ETH and see, which one you want to be in at this time. And basically since September of 2022, it's just been going down. You get these little bumps. So if you're trading it, and you're calling these bottoms and these tops, like, more power to you. There's money to be made there, but it's really just been going down. It was at about 0.085 in September. It's now at 0.063 in August. And, the merge had, gave it this pump, and, it bounced nicely. Like, it took a dip with Bitcoin, but then ETH bounced a little bit better and has been holding up all right. But still, like, even if it were to go all the way up to test this trend line, it'd be at about 0.067. And, just a few weeks ago it was at 0.71. So it just seems like lower highs on ETH versus Bitcoin. So why not be in Bitcoin over ETH at this point? I think it can go down, test this 0.048. So, yeah, I definitely think that Bitcoin is the play over ETH at this point. XRP, much riskier. This is when the XRP won its court case, pops off, shoots to the moon, and then just basically retraces. Even came down below where it was when it won the case. Now it's trading a little bit above it, but definitely got to push through this trend line here before it finds any real support. And if you look at the range, this new top of the range back down here, because it had been in this basically just crab walk straight across, not doing much for many, many weeks, now popped out. But I mean, like, look at this. Look at these two levels. Like, this is exactly what it retested. This, even with all this SEC news, and you think, oh, that's what's driving it, everybody wants to get into XRP and Ripple. Like, it just came right back to the same exact spot. Mega volume. Let's put on volume. Like, volume burst. It comes back up and it just retests exactly where it had been and gets rejected, falls back down. And then if you want to look at this tighter range, high to low recently, got to get back above this 67, 68 cents. But it looks like, altcoins, XRP is one of the leaders in the altcoin category, and it's just people distributing, taking their money out of it. Even when you get this, external narrative, XRP beat the case, oh, it's going to the moon now, that's the only thing holding it back. Not really. It was just people taking their money out. And it looks like it's got lower to go. Rune's been one of the top gainers this week, or the last few weeks actually. But I mean, again, when you look at it, it's just lower, 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 pops up, basically just retests this area. There's top. Now it popped and it's top again. It did break this trend line. I guess if you're just watching altcoins every single day, watching Rune every single day, the problem is it's like it broke out of this trend line here, right? And then just failed again, and then held basically under it. So, like, it's not the first time that Rune has broken a trend line and then just continued down. But I guess if you extend this out to what would have been the new trend, it didn't really even retest. So, if you were just watching, if you were just watching and you looked at this range, right? Like, it had been this range all year, just slowly descending. It then breaks this trend line and then breaks slightly above. I mean, this again could have been a great time to take a flyer on it and just very low risk, because you could have said, if you break below, back down below that 50, and it looks like it actually did. So very tough to call
altcoins at this point. But they get these pops, they go up, they're up 50% on a week when Bitcoin's down, and you're like, oh, how could you have predicted it? I don't think you can predict it unless you're a Rune maxi and you're looking at Rune every single day. Really tough to call. Kaspa's too new, or at least it's too new. I don't think it's this new. I think it's this new to KuCoin. But while it's got this trend line going, you might as well look at a 50% and then maybe a secondary and say, hey, if it closes above 40, if it closes above 4.2 cents, it could be strong, could be holding this trend line, and then just set your stop loss at or around there. Because again, if it starts to falter and falls below and then breaks this trend line, it's probably going to revisit 3 cents. And then if that loses it, I mean, it's got a ways to fall. But in the meantime, it's looking strong. Optimism kind of gives you like, this could be like the double top of Bitcoin. It kind of gives you that vibe. But the long-term trend, you expect a lot of resistance at 210. And then from here, I would probably call that latest dip. I would say that there could be some support around $1.23. So if it retraces down to there, there's probably room to run. I don't really foresee it getting higher than 210 anytime soon. But there's a lot of room up from, it's a 35% increase. If it just goes from here, you want to take a flyer on it and set a stop at the at that lower wick. It's 20%. You can lose 20%, so you don't want to risk a lot. 20% of $100 is not that big a deal, but 20% of $10,000 is a big deal. So, everybody's got their own big deals. So again, do your own research. Let's take a look at the SP 500 real quick because it has bounced a little bit better. Let's throw on the 200-day and see that we're still well above the 200-day. Throw on the bull market support band. We basically bounced away from the bull market support band most of this year. We were below it during that banking crisis in March and have been holding above it. This, right now, this looks like a retest and, more upside in the cards if it does prove to be a retest, but you probably want to get back above 44.75, and then if you want to look more short term, you want to be above 44.10. And what is potentially dangerous is we could also let's go to the daily. Let's even go to the 4 hour. We're right at it, like right now. We haven't even closed this 4 hour bar, and we are kind of, potentially getting rejected by. Let's get nuts and go to the hourly. Okay, so this does sort of look a bit like a rejection, but it still hasn't even closed yet. So you want to close above first. That's 50% of about 4,400, and then you want to get back above 44.10. And what you really don't want to do is see like a hard rejection down, and then you'll probably come back up and then get another lower high. That is like an outright rejection that you don't want to see. So if it takes a dip from here on the hourly chart, it's probably all right. But on its next surge up, you really want to get back above those markers. If not, it's not necessarily like doomsday or anything like that, but those are bullish signals that if today's the day that you want to go in and you want to take put a little bit more risk on, those are some the things that you want to see. All right, that is a quick check-in on crypto with a little S&P 500 at the end. Do your own research, not financial advice, but if you want to look at charts, leave a comment or DM me, and I'll take a look at whatever charts you want to look at, and we'll try and figure this thing out together. I'll be back to look at more charts later this week.